Good evening, Judge. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Bidadole, and tonight I'll be discussing topics from the Labor Code of the Philippines, or also known as Presidential Decree Number 442 as amended. Under Article 1 of its general provisions, this decree shall be known as the Labor Code of the Philippines. Article 3, Declaration of Basic Policy. The state shall afford protection of labor, promote full employment, ensure equal work opportunities regardless of sex, race, or creed, and regulate the relations between workers and employers. The state shall assure the rights of workers to self-organization, collective bargaining, security of tenure, and just and humane conditions of work. Article number 5, Rules and Regulations. The Department of Labor and other government agencies charged with the administration and enforcement of this code or any of its parts shall promulgate the necessary implementing rules and regulations. Such rules and regulations shall become effective 15 days after announcement of their adoption in newspapers of general circulation. Article number 6, Applicability. All rights and benefits granted to workers under this code shall, except as may otherwise be provided herein, apply alike to all workers, whether agricultural or non-agricultural. And now, I'll be discussing the conditions of employment under Book 3 of this code. Title number 1, Working Condition and Rest Periods. Chapter 1, Hours of Work. Article 82, its coverage. The provision of this title shall apply to employees in all establishments and undertakings whether for profit or not, but not to government employees, managerial employees, field personnel, members of the family of the employer who are dependent on him for support, domestic helpers, persons in the personal service of another, and workers who are paid by results as determined by the Secretary of Labor in appropriate regulations. As used herein, managerial employees refer to those whose primary duty consists of the management of the establishment in which they are employed or of a department or subdivision thereof, and to other officers or members of the managerial staff. However, field personnel shall refer to non-agricultural employees who regularly perform their duties away from the principal place of business or branch office of the employer and whose actual hours of work in the field cannot be determined with reasonable certainty. Article 83. Normal hours of work. The normal hours of work of any employee shall not exceed 8 hours a day. Health personnel in cities and municipalities with a population of at least 1 million or in hospital and clinics with a bed capacity of at least 100 shall hold regular office hours for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, exclusive of time for meals, except where the exigencies of the service require that such personnel work for 6 days or 48 hours, in which case they shall be entitled to an additional compensation of at least 30% of their regular wage for work on the sixth day. For purposes of this article, health personnel shall include resident physicians, nurses, nutritionists, dietitians, pharmacists, social workers, laboratory technicians, paramedical technicians, psychologists, midwives, attendants, and all other hospital or clinic personnel. Article 84, Hours Work. Hours work shall include A. All time during which an employee is required to be on duty or to be at prescribed workplace, and B. All time during which employee is suffered or permitted to work. Article 85, Meal Periods. Subject to such regulations as the Secretary of Labor may prescribe, It shall be the duty of every employer to give his employees not less than 60 minutes time off for the regular meals. Article 86. Night Shift Differential. Every employee shall be paid a night shift differential of not less than 10% of his regular wage for each hour of work performed between 10 in the evening and 6 o'clock in the morning. Article 87. Overtime work. Work may be performed beyond 8 hours a day provided that the employee is paid for the overtime work, an additional compensation equivalent to his regular wage plus at least 25% thereof. Work performed beyond 8 hours on a holiday or rest day shall be paid an additional compensation equivalent to the rate of the first 8 hours on a holiday or rest day plus at least 30% thereof. Chapter 2. Weekly Rest Periods. Article 91. Right to weekly rest day. It shall be the duty of every employer, whether operating for profit or not, to provide each of his employees a rest period of not less than 24 consecutive hours after every 6 consecutive normal work days. The employer shall determine and schedule the weekly rest day of his employees subject to collective bargaining agreement and to such rules and regulations as the Secretary of Labor and Employment may provide. However, the employer shall respect the preference of employees as to their weekly rest day when such preference is based on religious grounds. Article 93. Compensation for rest day, Sunday, or holiday work. Where an employee is made or permitted to work on his scheduled rest day, he shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 30% of his regular wage. An employee shall be entitled to such additional compensation for work performed on Sunday only when it is his established rest day. When the nature of work of the employee is such that he has no regular work days and no regular rest days can be scheduled, he shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 30% of his regular wage for work performed on Sundays and holidays. Work performed on any special holiday shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 30% of the regular wage of the employee. Where such holiday work falls on the employee's scheduled rest day, he shall be entitled to an additional compensation of at least 50% of his regular wage. Chapter 3. Holidays, Service Incentive Leaves, and Service Charges. Article 94. Right to Holiday Pay. Every worker shall be paid his regular daily wage during regular days except in retail and service establishment regularly employing less than 10 workers. The employer may require an employee to work on any holiday, but such employee shall be paid a compensation equivalent to twice his regular rate and, as used in this article, holiday includes New Year's Day, Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, the 9th of April, the 1st day of May, the 12th of June, the 4th of July, the 30th of November, the 25th and 30th of December, and the day designated by law for holding a general election. Article 95. Right to Service Incentive Leave. Every employee who has rendered at least 1 year of service shall be entitled to a yearly service incentive leave of 5 days with pay. This provision shall not apply to those who are already enjoying the benefit herein provided, those enjoying vacation leave with pay of at least 5 days, and those employed in establishment regularly employing less than 10 employees or in establishment exempted from granting this benefit by the Secretary of Labor and Employment after considering the viability or financial condition of such establishment. And now let's proceed to Title II, Wages, the minimum wage rates. Article 99, Regional Minimum Wages. The minimum wage rates for agricultural and non-agricultural employees and workers in each and every region of the country shall be those prescribed by the regional tripartite wages and productivity boards. One of the major power and functions of the regional board is to determine and fix minimum wage rates applicable in their regions, provinces, or industries therein, and to issue the corresponding wage orders subject to guidelines issued by the Commission. The Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board of Region 10 promulgated Wage Order Number 21, which has two tranches. The Tranche 1 is effective on June 18, 2022, and Tranche 2 will be effective on December 16, 2022. This grants the following upon effectivity of all tranches. 40 pesos per day basic wage increase for workers under Category 1 and Category 3. On the first tranche, we can see a 25 pesos increase, and on the second tranche, a 15 pesos increase, making it 40 pesos per day increase, which total to 405 pesos per day as their minimum wage rate. It covers also the cities under Category 3. However, cities covered under Category 2 and Category 4, there is a 47 per day basic wage increase. 25 pesos in the first tranche and 22 pesos in the second tranche, total of 47 pesos. This increase covers both non-agricultural and agricultural workers. Chapter 3, Payment of Wages. Under Article 103, Time of Payment, wages shall be paid at least once every 2 weeks or twice a month at intervals not exceeding 16 days. No employer shall make payment with less frequency than once a month. Chapter 4, Prohibitions regarding wages. Article 112, Non-interference in disposal of wages. No employer shall limit or otherwise interfere with the freedom of any employee to dispose of his wages. He shall not in any manner force, compel, or oblige his employees to purchase merchandise, commodities, or other property from any other person, or otherwise make use of any store or services of such employer or any other person. Article 113, Wage Deduction. No employer, in his own behalf or in behalf of any person, shall make any deduction from the wages of his employees except a. In cases where the worker is insured with his consent by the employer, and the deduction is to recompense the employer for the amount paid by him as premium on the insurance. B. For union dues, in cases where the right of the worker or his union to check off has been recognized by an employer or authorized in writing by the individual worker concerned, and C. In cases where the employer is authorized by the law or regulations issued by the Secretary of Labor and Employment. Title 3, Working Conditions for Special Groups of Employees. Chapter 1, Employment of Women. Article 133, Maternity Leave Benefits. A. Every employer shall grant to any pregnant woman employee who has rendered an aggregate service of at least 6 months for the last 12 months, maternity leave of at least 2 weeks prior to the expected date of delivery, another 4 weeks after normal delivery, or abortion with full pay based on her regular or average weekly wages. The employer may require from any woman employee applying for maternity leave the production of a medical certificate stating that delivery will probably take place within 2 weeks. B. The maternity leave shall be extended without pay on account of illness medically certified to arise out of the pregnancy, delivery, abortion, or miscarriage, which renders the woman unfit for work, unless She has earned unused leave credits from which such extended leave may be charged. C. The maternity leave provided in this article shall be paid by the employer only for the first 4 deliveries by a woman employee after the effectivity of this code. Chapter 2, Employment of Minors. Stated under Article 139 that no child below 15 years of age shall be employed except when he works directly under the sole responsibility of his parents or guardian and his employment does not in any way interfere with his schooling. B. Any person between 15 and 18 years of age may be employed for such number of hours and such periods of the day as determined by the Secretary of Labor and Employment in appropriate regulations. And C. The foregoing provisions shall in no case allow the employment of a person below 18 years of age in an undertaking which is hazardous or deleterious in nature as determined by the Secretary of Labor and Employment. And those are my topics for tonight. And before I end my slide, I will leave you with a quote: a job should lift workers out of poverty, not to keep them in it. Thank you.